Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is Go Again, a fabulous video cast covering the trading card game Flesh and Blood. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. One of the mechanics that makes Flesh and Blood gameplay so unique is that your reset happens at the end of your turn instead of the beginning. In many other games, your reset, which is where you ready your cards, gain resources, draw cards, and so on, this occurs before you act. Now in Flesh and Blood, you draw at the end of your turn, play through your opponent's turn reacting, and then you make your move with what remains in your hand. So it's no wonder then that when giving advice or talking to people in interviews or writing articles, many of the elite fab players will say something akin to, it's most important to learn how to block. Now let's be clear, blocking itself is easy, right? You just throw cards from your hand, right? So what they really mean for that, or what I believe they really mean by that, is what's important is to learn how to maximize the efficiency of your hand, right? Find the right value combinations of blocking and leaving yourself with something to counterattack. So today we're going to tackle that very question, right? How do we plan our turns? How do we chart a course with our hand so that we can maximize our efficiency, maximize our turn? And we're going to do this in two ways. First, we're going to outline some basic plans, right? Kind of a basic outline of how to do your turn. And then we're actually going to go on the table and do some real examples. In Flesh and Blood, every single hand is its own problem that needs to be solved, right? How do I maximize my attack? How do I reduce the amount of damage I take? What's going to be good in the moment? What's going to set me up for the long term? And so on. So what I wanted to do today was I wanted to outline kind of some general, very generic guidelines for looking at your hand and kind of charting that course to success. And then what I want to do is we'll actually go over, I've got some videos shot on the table itself. I have a Boltyn example, a Dorinthea example, an Azalea example, and an Ira example. We'll just go through, look at the various hands, and kind of figure out how we would play that hand, just kind of as a sample. So moving into the guidelines, and of course, we have to have a disclaimer on all stuff like that, is this is a generic guideline, right? You are playing a game against an opponent who is, trying to do this as well. And there are times when you're going to have to break these rules, right? Quote unquote. To do the right thing, right? Say somebody's coming at you with a big Dawn Blade and they've got attack reaction, you might have to dump your hand, right? That won't necessarily fit into this because, you are playing a game. But let's go ahead and get into these three guidelines. For one is decide on your line of play. And what I mean by that is look at your hand, you draw your hand, you say, okay, next turn when I attack, this is what I think I'm going to do. I'm going to be able to pump something and I'm going to be able to swing with my weapon. So in that case, I need my pump card. I need something to pitch to pay, and there we go, right? So in that case, you might need two cards, which means you could defend with two. So which leads us to number two, which is pieces that don't fit into the aforementioned line of play can become blockers, right? Number three, though, three is very important and kind of fits into two, of crucial pieces to your overall deck strategy, like Via the Vanguard, maybe for Boltyn, Illumina Ascension, or something like that. Those would be those combo intensive pieces. You need to be able to consider arsenaling those, right? So you might not, block. And sometimes you'll find yourself in a turn where you don't have much to do. In that case, you can overblock and just arsenal and try and set yourself up for a future turn. Right? So very, very, very simple 1, 2, 3, right? Decide on your line of play. What am I going to do? The pieces that don't fit, block with them, unless there's a key combo piece that we need there. And again, of course, right, there will be experienced fab players who are shouting at the screen right now saying, no, but that's not always true because one time I had, and again, I get it. You were playing a game, there's a back and forth. You're going to have to be flexible. But as a general rule, when you're starting out, say, what can I do? If I can't use this card, let's block with it, right? It's very crucial. It's very important to success in Flesh and Blood that you try to maximize the efficiency of your hand, and much of that includes trying to use everything in your hand every single turn. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and head on over to the tables through the examples. Now, first, some of you may be interested in specific heroes. The order that they are going is Dorinthea's up first, then Azalea, then Boltyn, and we finish with Ira. So you can kind of skip ahead in the video based on what you need, but I encourage you to watch it all because I think there's good learning there. So anyway, thanks for joining me, folks, and go Commando. All right, folks, so in our first example, we're going to be looking at Dorinthea. Now, the way I have my deck built, and I mean, it's not exactly unique. Generally, the way to play Dorinthea is that you want to throw up, front pump Dorinthea. You want to throw up a pretty decent attack. And if you can maximize into getting the second swing on Dawnblade, getting that counter on, that's when things get really nasty. All right, so giving it a shuffle here, we'll give it a cut just to make sure that I'm not stacking the deck on you guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and go into this now. Remember, we're trying to mock a mid-game turn. So we have a yellow hit and run. Ooh, Steelblade Supremacy. We have a Fate Foreseen defense reaction. And we have a red Dauntless. So this is not a great hand for us. Now this one, obviously, this is our defender. What we're really gonna wanna do here is we wanna get this in Arsenal. Because we want this one, I mean, Steelblade Supremacy is one of our big boys, right? So until end of turn, target weapon gains +2 whenever it hits draw a card. That's really good for us. So our goal here is going to be able to get this into Arsenal at the end of next round. We can defend here. Now we have two options here. Really, actually, I mean, we have a couple options here. But what we could do is we can Dauntless to front pump, so we can pitch two. We can pitch two to Dauntless to Dawnblade, right? Not too bad, coming for 6. The next defense reaction costs an additional 1 if they want to. I mean, that's okay, puts pressure on for sure, but it only lets us defend for 4, which isn't bad at all. We could also hit and run, defend with hit and run, I mean, as well, if we needed to, depending on what they're coming at us. So, and then you just use the Dauntless to swing for 3 with Dawnblade, which isn't great, but it lets us help set up. So those are the two options depending on what comes at us. Obviously, that's a defender defending with. I mean, you could defend with either one of these. They're both 3. Probably you want to keep your red Dauntless and defend with hit and run. And then if they don't throw much at you, you can hit and run and Dauntless up. So that's how I would play that one in terms of that hand. But just for, let's say we did do that, throw that on the bottom, not that it hugely matters, so we swung for 6. But just for, S's and giggles, let's see what our next, so there's a blue, that's a good start. See what our next hand looks like. Spoils. Now we're cooking with gas. Hit and run blue, and a sharpened steel. Okay, folks, so remember we have, let's go ahead and throw it up there. So we have, it's not in our hand, but we have this in Arsenal. So what we're gonna wanna do for sure is pair those two up. So that's one. We'll need enough for 2 swings, but this could be a courage turn, right? And remember, we're going to be drawing more cards as well. So I think on hit. So I like going just a full front pump here. That does leave us 1 card to defend with if we need to. But that first one's going to come in for, now we don't have Dominate or anything, but to come in for 7. Yeah, 7. Oh man, it comes in for 9. So that's what I think that's our play. So just putting it back in perspective on our hand, this is what's in our hand. We need 1 of these to pitch. We need those 2 to play. So that leaves us 1 left over to defend with. And I think we take the rest on our equipment and really try to put the pressure on. I mean, not just the pressure on. That's one of our turns. If we do get in a pinch, we could courage, because that's gonna cost us 1. I mean, that's a total of 3 right there just for the first swing. So we'll eat up, and then depending on what we draw, we're pretty dependent on hitting there. So they might just dump their hand, because we don't have an attack react. So I do think we'll have to evaluate whether or not to do courage. I think we have to decide whether or not we're going to block based on what they throw at us. I know that's kind of a cop out here on this one, but I think it really depends whether we keep this floating, whether it's worth our risk to pop and maybe not get it. So anyway, that's how I would have played that hand. I know that hand turned into 2, but that's kind of the point, because I think arsenaling supremacy there and defending, I think that was the right way to go. So all right, that's how I would have played Dorinthea. She's really cool, a lot of fun to play. Give her a try. So in this case, we're going to look at my girl Azalea using my Ranger deck that I love. Put a lot of work into this baby. So the main strategy of this deck is Azalea wants to throw that one super big arrow, right? So what we're going to be looking for is of course an arrow, some way to either get it on the top of our deck or to control what is on the top of our deck, and then some sort of front pump card. So generally with Azalea, depending on how it works, you generally have a 3-card hand. Now that lets us room for 1 defense, but sometimes we end up just going a full defend and arsenal. So anyway, we shuffled up. Let's cut. Let's actually do it instead of just talking theory. All right, so we got a plunder run. That's one we want to play from arsenal. We got red in the ledger, one of our fundamental ones, but remember, she likes to play from the top of the deck. We have a hamstring shot, so 1 for 5 arrow. And we have a captain's call, right? So that gives card either +2. It's either a front pump or it can give go again, and that's a 0 drop. All right, so we don't have any of our reloads or anything sexy here. So what we're fundamentally looking at here is we're going to have to red liner, and we don't really have, all we have here is an op. So this is actually not a very good turn for us at all, and that's okay. So what I'm going to want to do here is I'm going to want to try and get plunder run in my arsenal to end my next turn, okay? Now we need 1 to be able to shoot, so probably, yeah, because if we're going to defend, so I want to redliner this in. Because our arrows are so valuable for us. Yeah, but I don't know, but that's only a 2 block. And so yeah, actually that's probably what we'll do is we'll probably block with his arrow, which will let us block 3. We'll use the captain's call to pitch to be able to throw red, and then we will plunder. Now it kind of stinks to burn red, but if you're going to defend, you're burning it anyway. So now we have plunder in our arsenal. We were able to throw 5, at least put a little pressure. Chances are they did block this because they didn't want it to have the negative effect impact of only taking 1 action. So they probably dropped 2 cards from their hand, which is okay, right? So we spent our turn. It wasn't great, but we likely got 2 cards out of their hand or punished them very bad. Plus we got plunder run in our arsenal, okay? So this is on the bottom of our deck as our pitch. Yeah, it won't matter there. And then let's look at our next 4. So we have a blue Ridge Rider shot, very, very good for redliner. We have a Seek Horizon. Now we don't need a Ridge Rider shot. We have a headshot, there we go. And we have a Ravenous Rabble. So what really stinks about Azalea is she doesn't have a lot of equipment options. But we actually have a very, 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 very strong turn here, right? Because we have the ability with Seek Horizon to put this on the top of our deck. We have pitch right here for everything we would ever want, and we actually have a rabble, which is kind of a pseudo anyway. So I'm actually, depending on what they throw at us, I'm gonna take it. So the only functional pitch card, actually we could block with that. We could block with that because we do have cross drop. So depending on if we needed to or not, we actually can afford this card to block. Right, so let's go ahead and walk through. Let's go ahead and assume we have to block with this one. Right, so now we have these 3 cards in our hand. Okay, we have Seek Horizon, Ravenous Rabble. So what we're gonna do, we actually don't need to opt here because we're gonna end up throwing headshot on top anyway. So this is kind of funny. What we're going to do is we're gonna Seek Horizon. We're gonna throw red on top. We're going to Ravenous Rabble, which is going to, yes, show our opponent what it is. They're going to find out anyway. So now we have headshot, or sorry, headshot's a 1, so now this is a 4. Man, what a turn here with Azalea. So we're swinging 4, go again because we put on top. We're swinging 4 with Ravenous Rabble, go again. We are then going to do the Azalea thing. Unfortunately, we have to burn this card to do it, but we put that on the bottom right, and we were trying to play that from Arsenal, but that's okay. Now we throw Headshot out for this one gets the bonus when it goes in Arsenal, so it goes in Arsenal, just walk through the steps. And then we cross strap, and we Headshot. Okay, so we had to burn one of our pieces of equipment to do it, but we got a 4, and a 6 with Dominate. Not a bad turn for Azalea. Actually, super good turn for Azalea. So now that did require a setup turn to get there, right, to get a card in our arsenal. And yeah, you know what? It's just kind of how it goes sometimes. We actually expected to be able to use that to pump our arrow and get a draw. Didn't work out for us there, but you know what? With that multiple attack with Dominate arrow, it actually worked out just fine for us. So that's how I like to play Azalea. That's again kind of, you know, you have to, even though we didn't know it was coming on the second turn, we had to put ourselves in a position to have something in our arsenal and try and maximize the position for that big Dominate arrow. So good job with Azalea there, and let's move on to the next hero. All right, folks, so in this example, we're going to be looking at Sir Boltyn. Now, I play a Duskbane or a Raiden build with him, which is, you know, really just trying to throw something out, charge, and get a couple good swings in. It's pretty consistent, keeps pressure on. But one of the drawbacks is that it's pretty card intensive, right? Boltyn's card intensive. You need something, you need a card to throw out that'll let you charge. You generally need something to pitch that, and then you actually need a card to charge. So at a bare minimum, you're looking at 3 cards. So a lot of times with Boltyn, we're going to be looking at our 0/4s to throw up, arsenal, and try to set up kind of like a big go wide turn or something like that. So since this is mid game, right? Remember we are mocking mid game. After we shuffle, I'm actually going to throw 1 card in his soul. That'll give us something a little more functional to work with, and it will be a little more like kind of a real mid game situation. So, all right. So before we deal, just 1 right off the top. Oh, dang, a good one. So that bolting blade is in his soul. Okay. So we have there we go, cooking with gas, baby. We have a Take Flight, we have a Yellow Razor, we have a Battlefield Blitz, and we have an Illuminate. All right, so already we have a pretty clear turn for us, right? So what we're gonna wanna do is we're gonna Take Flight. We will, I mean, that's the way to do it. We'll Take Flight, charge, pitching Razor, and swinging Battlefield Blitz. So what that'll let us do, it comes for 3 with natural go again. If we've charged, this gets go again. So it's a 3, 5, 3. Gets another card into our soul that we don't have to consume, and all for 2 pitch. However, that combo I just laid out, or that line of play I just laid out, used all 4 of our cards. So we will have to basically take it to the face there, maybe do some intelligent equipment blocks. And if they come at us hard, that could fall apart. We might have to consume our blitz. And let's go ahead and play that scenario as well, right? Instead of drawing a second hand, we'll play that scenario as well. Let's say something comes and we just decide we absolutely have to block. All of these defend for 3. I guess it doesn't really matter what our charge card ends up being. This is one that we'll probably want to pitch to keep for later on the bottom of our deck. So this for sure we have to keep. This is our pitch card, and we have to keep a charge card. So let's defend with Illuminate, and then that'll, I mean, again, it doesn't really matter, but the card I'd rather see later is Battlefield Blitz. So that would end up being our play in defending for 3. It's not quite as great because we don't get that second swing in there. But, you know, again, like I said, we'll play the other scenario where we absolutely had to block something. Not as great, but it gives us a little more, you know, we took 3 less damage. So, you know what, let's go ahead. That was actually pretty fast. We'll go ahead and do another turn with him, because why the heck not? That was actually a pretty straightforward turn. We didn't really have to arsenal anything. And sometimes with Boltyn you have to. So again, we'll shuffle, we'll cut, we'll give him a charge card, kind of repeat this scenario. Okay, so his charge card is Sink Below. That's something I'd rather see. All right, so there we go, Take Flight, cross the line, and Lumina Ascension. Ooh, my foil Lumina Ascension. Not too shabby. So that's kind of hot, actually, because we only need one pitch. So we need a pitch, a charge. This is actually a really good hand here again. We actually don't have to, now if we're gonna end up having, like, depending on what they come, if we have to like defend real good, we'll, you know, defend real strong and cast a lot of cards for that. This is our must. This card must go in our arsenal, right? We absolutely need this card. But the straight line of play here is cross the line, pitching 2. I guess it doesn't really, actually. I think what we want to do is we'll pitch to take flight, charging here, right? We'll do that to note the charge there. So that gets that's swinging 4 with go again. We then play Lumina, which, because we have charged, and then that's in our soul. We get rating because we've charged, so that's coming 4, and this is assuming nobody's blocking anything. Then we can burn that and go again. So I think that's a real strong hand as well, right? So just to lay it out, what we'd end up doing is we know we need a pitch, and really the decision on these two of which one to pitch and which one to put in your soul is pretty clear to me, because take flights are so essential to the deck. You don't want to burn if you don't have to. Cross the line is just a fundamental charge card. So that becomes the card that you charge. At the very least, this has to go in the arsenal at the end of the turn if you can't make anything out of the turn and if we have to block. So, all right, I think that one was pretty straightforward as well. Again, we figured out our line of attack. We defended accordingly, or rather didn't defend in this case, and we came on strong with what would have been a very, very, very good turn. All right, folks, so for our last hero we're going to look at today, we're going to look at a Blitz hero, Irad, right, with the Kodachis. Now, one of the the reason she's so good and reliable is what she's really looking for is a 0 cost that has 3 pitch, right, a blue 0 cost. That starts the Kodachi thing, and then really everything else that you try to get on that is just kind of gravy. So we'll shuffle her up, we'll do our cut, and we'll deal and see what we get, right? And remember, this is a mid-turn hand here. So Crane Dance, okay, that's a yellow. There we go. There's our blue 0 on the lunging press. We have a Soul Bead Strike, actually, when it hits goes again. And we have a blue Crane Dance. So very interesting here. All right, so looking at our turn, what we want to do is one of these blues we want to use, and we'll probably, man, that's interesting because Crane Dance on top of Soul Bead Strike. So the order, depending on what our opponent does here, we can use these two for sure. Crane Dance, I don't know why we would. I mean, it's 0. Now it has to hit, right? But we could arsenal that if we had to. And then this one, right? The other reason, because we need a blue pitch, right? This one has a 3 defense, that has a 2 defense, so I'm going to be more likely to defend with this one to get something out of it. Just depending on how the defense goes. So that's what I'm going to do out of the gate here, is I'm going to defend with Crane Dance, the blue Crane Dance. And you know, if things get nasty, we could throw this. It's not super essential, but you know, that'd be a pretty nice turn, right? So we block there, and then we do, you know, the pitch. We'll swing. We will swing. In this case, that is 2. So we'll see what they do. We come down with Soul Bead Strike. And if it hits, it gains go again. And you know, if they defend and they throw cards, we throw cards in the arsenal. If not, we're going to follow. If it hits and gains go again, we'll follow up with Crane Dance, which is the combo on Soul Bead Strike. All right, so yeah, pretty straightforward there. I mean, that's kind of how Ira rolls. And actually, this one didn't take very long. Let's go ahead and do one more hand with her, and it should be a pretty consistent pattern. Again, all we're really looking for is that blue 0 blue. So we got a push the point, okay. A flick flack defend react, all right, that gives us a little stuff to work with. Salt the wound, okay, no blues here. All right, Russian River. All right, so we don't have any of the blues, but what we do have is we do have 0s. So this does not have combo, this is a defend react, and this one does have combo. So what we're going to be looking at for our defense is using this and then defending. We'll defend this for attack react for that, or sorry, defend react for that for 3. Then we can block that, and that'll get the +2 for 5. So this is going to be our defense. This, what we'll end up doing is, because we didn't get our blue, we don't have a super awesome turn. We will Salt the Wound for Kadachi, so swing 1, swing 2, and then we'll Arsenal push the point, try and save that for a later turn when some stuff works, and maybe we end up using that in conjunction with our scalers or the prior card actually in terms of scalers. We'll see how that goes, but that's the way I'd play that. I'd actually Arsenal that, try and save it for future turn, use those as my blocks, and use that as my pitch to at least get some swings in and keep the lot going. So anyway, Ira, that was actually not a very good draw for us, and we still did some pretty good stuff with it in terms of putting on pressure. And you know what, that's why Ira does what she does. So all right, that'll wrap it up for today. That was the last hero we had. Again, thanks very much for tuning in. I hope this made sense in terms of kind of the lines of play, just how I would look at it and kind of trying to decide how to do your hand. So nothing else, folks. Go Commando.